I know your mind may still be turning, like a wheel that cannot find its rest. Let me tell you a story about travelers who learned that help can come from the smallest of creatures, and that even the bravest among us may need to ask for shelter. Perhaps, as you listen, your breath will slow and your thoughts will settle. The friends had walked a long way, and the sun was warm on their shoulders. The Scarecrow stood beside Dorothy and said, "We cannot be far from the road of yellow brick now, for we have come nearly as far as the river carried us away." Dorothy nodded, her eyes heavy with the kind of tiredness that comes from a long journey. And perhaps you know that feeling, the body yearning for rest, the mind still moving. Let that mind slow down now, just as the travelers paused in the tall grass. The Tin Woodman was about to reply when he heard a low growl. Turning his head, which worked beautifully on hinges, he saw a strange beast bounding toward them over the green. It was a great yellow wildcat, with ears laid flat and a mouth wide open, showing 2 rows of ugly teeth. Its red eyes glowed like balls of fire. And running before the beast, tiny and terrified, was a little gray field mouse. The woodman had no heart, but he knew it was wrong for the wildcat to try to kill such a pretty, harmless creature. So he raised his axe, and as the wildcat ran by, he gave it one quick blow. The beast rolled over at his feet, and the field mouse stopped short. She came slowly up to the woodman and said, in a squeaky little voice, "Oh, thank you. Thank you ever so much for saving my life." "Don't speak of it," replied the woodman. "I have no heart, you know, so I am careful to help all those who may need a friend, even if it happens to be only a mouse." "Only a mouse?" cried the little animal indignantly. "Why, I am a queen, the queen of all the field mice." At that moment, several mice came running up as fast as their little legs could carry them. When they saw their queen, they bowed so low that they almost stood upon their heads. "Oh, your Majesty, we thought you would be killed. How did you escape the great wildcat?" "This funny tin man killed the wildcat and saved my life," she answered. "So hereafter you must all serve him and obey his slightest wish." "We will," cried all the mice in a shrill chorus. And then they scampered in every direction, because Toto had awakened from his sleep and, seeing all those mice, gave one bark of delight and jumped right into the middle of the group. He had always loved to chase mice when he lived in Kansas, and he saw no harm in it. But the Tin Woodman caught the dog in his arms and held him tight. Come back, Toad shall not hurt you." The Queen of the Mice stuck her head out from under a clump of grass and asked, in a timid voice, "Are you sure he will not bite us?" "I will not let him," said the Woodman, "so do not be afraid." One by one, the mice crept back, and Toto did not bark again, though he tried to wriggle free. Then one of the biggest mice spoke. "Is there anything we can do to repay you for saving the life of our queen?" The Woodman said, "Nothing that I know of." But the Scarecrow, who had been trying to think, although he could not, because his head was stuffed with straw, said quickly, "Oh, yes. You can save our friend, the cowardly lion, who is asleep in the poppy bed." "The lion," cried the little queen. "Why, he would eat us all up." "Oh, no," declared the Scarecrow. "This lion is a coward. He says so himself, and he would never hurt anyone who is our friend. If you will help us to save him, I promise that he shall treat you all with kindness." "Very well," said the queen. "We trust you, but what shall we do? Are there many of these mice, which call you queen, and are willing to obey you?" "Oh, yes, there are thousands," she replied. "Then send for them all to come here as soon as possible, and let each one bring a long piece of string." The queen turned to the mice that attended her and told them to go at once and get all her people. They ran away in every direction as fast as possible. And the Scarecrow asked the Tin Woodman to go to the trees by the riverside and make a truck that would carry the lion. So the woodman went to work, chopping limbs and branches, fastening them together with wooden pegs, and making 4 wheels out of short pieces of a big tree trunk. So fast and so well did he work that by the time the mice began to arrive, the truck was ready. They came from all directions, thousands of them, big mice, little mice, and middle-sized mice. Each one carried a piece of string in its mouth, and it was about this time that Dorothy woke from her long sleep and opened her eyes. She was greatly astonished to find herself lying upon the grass with thousands of mice standing around, looking at her timidly. But the Scarecrow explained everything, and turning to the dignified little mouse, he said, "Permit me to introduce to you Her Majesty, the Queen." Dorothy nodded gravely, and the Queen made a curtsy. After that, she became quite friendly with the little girl. Then the Scarecrow and the Woodman began to fasten the mice to the truck, one end of a string tied around each mouse's neck and the other end tied to the truck. Of course, the truck was 1,000 times bigger than any of the mice who were to draw it. But when all the mice had been harnessed, they were able to pull it quite easily. Even the Scarecrow and the Tin Woodman could sit on it, and they were drawn swiftly by their queer little horses to the place where the lion lay asleep. After a great deal of hard work, for the lion was heavy, they managed to get him onto the truck. Then the Queen gave her people the order to start, for she feared that if the mice stayed among the poppies too long, they too would fall asleep. At first, the little creatures could hardly stir the heavily loaded truck. But the Woodman and the Scarecrow pushed from behind, and soon they rolled the lion out of the poppy bed to the green fields, where he could breathe the sweet, fresh air again, instead of the poisonous scent of the flowers. Dorothy came to meet them and thanked the little mice warmly. She had grown so fond of the big lion that she was glad he had been rescued. Then the mice were unharnessed and scampered away through the grass to their homes. The Queen of the Mice was the last to leave. "If ever you need us again," she said, "come out into the field and call, and we shall hear you and come to your assistance. Goodbye." And away she ran, while Dorothy held Toto tightly lest he should run after her. After this, they sat down beside the lion until he should awaken, and the Scarecrow brought Dorothy some fruit from a tree nearby, which she ate for her dinner. Feel how the soft grass under their feet is like the softness beneath you now. Let your breath slow, just as the travelers did, waiting calmly in the warm air. It was some time before the cowardly lion awakened, for he had lain among the poppies a long while, breathing in their deadly fragrance. But when he did open his eyes and roll off the truck, he was very glad to find himself still alive. "I ran as fast as I could," he said, sitting down and yawning, "but the flowers were too strong for me. How did you get me out?" Then they told him about the field mice and how they had generously saved him from death. And the cowardly lion laughed and said, "I have always thought myself very big and terrible, yet such little things as flowers came near to killing me, and such small animals as mice have saved my life. How strange it all is! But, comrades, what shall we do now?" "We must journey on until we find the road of yellow brick again," said Dorothy, "and then we can keep on to the Emerald City." The lion being fully refreshed and feeling quite himself again, they all started upon the journey, greatly enjoying the walk through the soft, fresh grass. It was not long before they reached the road of yellow brick and turned again toward the Emerald City, where the great Oz dwelt. The road was smooth and well paved, and the country about was beautiful. The travelers rejoiced in leaving the forest far behind, and with it the many dangers they had met in its gloomy shades. Once more they could see fences built beside the road, but these were painted green. And when they came to a small house where a farmer evidently lived, that also was painted green. They passed several of these houses during the afternoon, and sometimes people came to the doors and looked at them as if they would like to ask questions. But no one came near them or spoke to them, because of the great lion, of which they were very much afraid. The people were all dressed in clothing of a lovely emerald green color, and wore peaked hats like those of the Munchkins. "This must be the land of Oz," said Dorothy, "and we are surely getting near the Emerald City." "Yes," answered the Scarecrow. "Everything is green here, while in the country of the Munchkins blue was the favorite color. But the people do not seem to be as friendly as the Munchkins, and I'm afraid we shall be unable to find a place to pass the night." "I should like something to eat besides fruit," said the girl, "and I'm sure Toto is nearly starved. Let us stop at the next house and talk to the people." So, when they came to a good-sized farmhouse, Dorothy walked boldly up to the door and knocked. A woman opened it just far enough to look out and said, "What do you want, child, and why is that great lion with you?" "We wish to pass the night with you, if you will allow us," answered Dorothy. "And the lion is my friend and comrade, and would not hurt you for the world." "Is he tame?" asked the woman, opening the door a little wider. "Oh, yes," said the girl. And he is a great coward, too. He will be more afraid of you than you are of him." The woman thought it over and took another peep at the lion. "If that is the case, you may come in, and I will give you some supper and a place to sleep." So they all entered the house, where there were, besides the woman, 2 children and a man. The man had hurt his leg and was lying on a couch in the corner. They seemed greatly surprised to see so strange a company. And while the woman was busy laying the table, the man asked, "Where are you all going?" "And to the Emerald City," said Dorothy, "to see the Great Oz." "Oh, indeed," exclaimed the man. "Are you sure that Oz will see you?" "Why not?" she replied. "Why, it is said that he never lets anyone come into his presence. I have been to the Emerald City many times, and it is a beautiful and wonderful place. But I have never been permitted to see the Great Oz, nor do I know of any living person who has seen him." "Does he never go out?" asked the Scarecrow. "Never." So they all crossed the threshold into the warm farmhouse, and for a little while they were safe and cared for. And perhaps you, too, can let yourself be cared for tonight. Tomorrow, we follow Dorothy and her friends down the yellow brick road toward the Emerald City and the Great Oz. Share with someone who needs rest. Subscribe to Sleep Factory. You've done enough. Rest now. Sleep well, dear friend.